Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today let's have another look at the Horizon Sim 787-9. Horizon have just announced the 787-10 as well, so there are exciting times ahead for all our 787 fans. But for now, let's have a first flight with the 787-9 with the first update 1.0.1. Right, we are standing in Doha over here, and we're going to do a quick run over to Dubai, which is about a 45 minutes flight-ish, taking us up to flight level 250. But before we start, let's do a quick walk around and have a look at what this amazing Qatar livery can do over here. By the way, many of you have been asking me how I'm doing my walk around, so let me just show you once more. We go to the camera menu over here in the showcast, basically into the drone, and then we simply reduce the speed of the drone. So I'm going to go for drone speed of 3, rotation of 45, and that's basically, if we are looking at this now, you can see that's basically how I'm doing my walk-arounds over here. Alright, so we are going to start straight at the front over here, and we start with the static ports, which are all looking good. Moving on to the nose wheel, having a look at the entire construction, making sure that there is no damage or anything the likes. And then we also have a look at the lights in the front and a little look inside of the wheel well. Alright, with that done, we can move out to the side, checking our static ports, and then move on to the front of our airplane. Quick overview of the plane, making sure there is no damage or bird strikes or anything the likes over here. And then we can move forward, checking our sensors, making sure the E&E bay door is closed, checking the sensors on the FO side, and then we move on to the front of our aircraft. So, moving on over the sides, we've got our inlets for the air for our air conditioning system, and a great look at our GE engines that we have on this Qatar Boeing 787-9. Alright then, moving on, we check the leading edge of the wings, and you can see there's quite some scrape marks over the pretty much entire leading edge that we can find over here. So this airplane, even though it's not that old, has already seen quite some beating over here. Alright, we should check for our lights to be working, but look at that, they actually are not working at the moment because our airplane is turned off. So that's just a little check there, making sure that you guys are actually listening out and actually watching along. If you did notice, do let me know. Alright then, main landing gear, having a look at the brake indicator pins, which we can see just about down here. And those brake indicator pins, they basically need to be showing to the inside of the wheel, and they must not be flush with the rest of the brake. Otherwise, we can say that they are that the brakes are insufficient and worn down, and that need to be replaced. Okay then, everything looking good on the front over here as well. No signs of bird strike. Tires are undamaged. So let's continue down below the plane and go to the tail cone area. So over here, no damages, everything looking good, leading edge is looking good, and that's it. Alright, APU exhaust area, and also note our 2 strobe lights over here, which will be flashing in flight. And then moving on to the back of the plane, and from here we can go further up front again and have a look at the other main gear. So again, same checks that we did on the other side, but look at that, everything is perfectly new down here in the landing gear. So we've got a brand new landing gear, but we do have some scratches on the outer leading edges. So what does that suggest? Well, a new landing gear, but certainly a worn wing, suggests that let's just say some of my predecessors of simulator pilots up here might have done 1 or 2 rather positive landings with the plane, and the landing gear had to be replaced. That's kind of what we can figure by just looking at the outside model of the plane, and I'm not sure that's intentional or not, but all I can say is that I really like something like that to be included in our aircraft. Okay, so with that, let's head upstairs. Hello there, so our crew's on board already, so we're just waiting for passengers, I suppose. But before they arrive, we rather power the airplane up, and here they come already, so Tell you what, follow me inside and we are going to start powering up our 787 before the passengers start boarding. Okay, so electrical, we'll turn on the battery, we'll turn on the external power up here and get rid of that GSX panel that's blocking my views. Okay, and I'm also going to turn on the APU straight away. Let's just see if the APU fire detection test works, but no, that's not simulated in here. So we are just going to start the APU straight away. Quick look at our system page. What's the temperature inside right now? 26, that's okay. Could be much worse, seeing that we are in the Middle East over here. Could be much, much worse. Alright, cool. Then, let's go ahead and quickly get our airplane refueled. So we are going to go onto the index, settings. We are going to take a real-time alignment. We have the cross pointer, that's good. So, weight and balance. We are just going to take that straight from... Oh, no sim brief data specified. Okay, then we just got to do that real quick. Here we go. User ID in, verifying active. Thank you. Right, let's try that once more. So, set from OFP. Get on the data, inserting it. Here we go. Thanks. And for the fuel, we're going to take 10 tons of fuel with us. Just a tiny bit more there. Okay, perfect. So, that is our payload done. And with that, let's now go ahead and start our FMC pre-flight procedure. But first thing, we start the IRS alignment up there. Okay, refueling is completed, so we'll turn on the passenger signs. Nav lights can also come on. And with that, we're now safe to start our boarding. Our first passengers are already arriving, so it's about time as well. So we can get rid of that message. So let's go. 787-9 GNX engine, current IRAC data, and you can see we've got the Horizon Sim version 1.0.1. Okay then, we'll use the GPS route. We're going to request our flight plan straight from SimBrief. Just give it a moment to pop up. Okay, route uplink, load, thank you. Here we go, but our call sign is incorrect on that. It's going to be the Qatar 8 Quebec, like that. Alright, cool. So, on to our performance init page. So in here, just a little bit of basic stuff we need to enter. We're going to start up here. Cruising level has been automatically inserted, that's correct. Cost index is going to be 30. We are not going to do any steps, so we can just enter 0 down there. And then we go to the left hand side. So in here, we're going to go for our final reserve plus alternate fuel, and that's going to be 4.5 tons for the reserves, and the 0 fuel weight scheduled to be 167.4, like that. Okay then. Thrust limit and takeoff page we are going to uplink later on, but over here we can already insert noise abatement procedure number 1, and we'll take the temperature and the winds automatically here, like that. Okay, VNAV page, our first climb restriction, and that's about a good time to grab our Navigraph charts up here. And here we go. Okay, transition altitude is 13,000 as we can see, so let's put that in. Here we go, 13,000 is inserted. Okay, cool. So with that, our climb forecast we can uplink real quick. Request send, then we should receive it in a moment. Here we go, load, thank you. And likewise, we are quickly going to request our en route wind. Clear the messages. It's a little annoying that we always have to get rid of the speed brake lever here from the default viewpoint, but I suppose it's fine. Alright, cool. With that, our FMS setup is pretty much done, so let's just put the Navigraph charts to the side and we continue with the rest of our flight deck setup. Alright, that's looking good. All of that's looking good. Anti-ice is going to go into the auto position. Packs certainly coming on. And then we're at the bottom already, so let's continue with our EFIS setup. So what's the latest weather over here? We have an ATIS available? No, unfortunately. Okay, so QNH 1015. We can absolutely do that. Alright, cool. Systems done. Let's quickly go over everything we've got down here just to make sure we don't have any unexpected indications. Looking for things like hydraulic quantity, like oil quantity, like the temperatures being under control, and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so that is looking okay. Then moving on to the engine display, oil quantity is looking good as well. IRU in align mode, absolutely, and we got 3 more minutes to go. Okay, we will be using plan mode in a few moments though. So, flight directors on, auto thrust on, initial climb, let's see if there's anything published down here. But it doesn't look like it. However, we can see on all SIDs 4,000 feet is our first restriction. For that reason, I'm just going to go ahead and dial in 4,000 down there. Runway track 336, can already pre-select that as well. Here we go, 336, and the speed will leave as it is. Okay, moving down, QNH, auto brake, and then when we get all the way down to the radios, here we go, we've got a 122.80, incom 1, and then 121.5, incom 2, here we go, and that's it. Transponder, since we're flying IFR, we'll take a squawk of 2000. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's go ahead now with our FMS setup, and we are going to insert our departure. 34 right, and let's quickly see, we're going towards Alzem, so Alzem to Echo right departure. And in Dubai, we're going to be landing on an ILS runway 30 left, coming in via VUTAP for the VUTAP 3 Charlie arrival. Like that, transition ULDOT, execute. Okay, now we can go ahead and have a look at our entire route of flight on the ND. Just at first making sure that there is nothing unsensible, to call it that way. But look at that, that looks like everything is pretty much alright down here. Alright, looking very good. And now on the second attempt, we're going to go ahead and ensure that all our restrictions are correct. So starting up here, let's see, Alzem to Echo, we've got UPBIP above 500 feet. And we've got UPBIP and thereafter 500 waypoint, that's okay. Then Revin, max 230 knots, above 2,500 feet, that's what we have. Alpet, max 250 knots, and 4,000 feet or below, we have that. Thereafter towards GoBlue, and then Alzem below flight level 210, and we have all of those in here. Perfect. So with that, our SID is pretty much checked. Alright, so let's just go ahead and grab a couple more charts. We'll probably need a taxi chart as well here, so let's just see. Park and stands, that's the one we're looking for. Very good. And we've got a ground chart on here. Let's see if we've got any separate taxi charts. But just for code Foxtrot aircraft, that should apply to us. Okay, perfect. So with that, we pretty much have what we need. Are you ready for the departure briefing? Okay, threats for the departure. To be honest, I don't really see anything there. So let's go ahead with the route check. For the route check, just take note that, I don't know why, something is messed up over here with the font size in the Navigraph app right now. But not 100% sure where that came from. In any case, we're going from Oscar Tango Hotel Hotel to Oscar Mike Delta Bravo, and we are the Quebec Tango Romeo 8 Quebec. That's hidden down here on the plan. A little bit hard to read right now, but it's gonna be fine. 3 for right, Alti to Echo departure, or Aslem to Echo departure, I should call it. And then we're going to continue via Lima 305 towards Idbul, Mike 667 VUTAP, and that's what we have down here. Okay, ground distance 289, and in here should be 293, so that's close enough. Not quite perfect, but it's okay. Alright, cool. So, our UTC time is 1051, altimeter 1015, reading 10 feet, flight directors are on, standby instruments set. Left seat takeoff, 3 for right, flaps 5, noise abatement procedure 2, and we are going to make a right turn out, climbing initially 4,000 feet. I've selected 3,900, just as a reminder that we don't have clearance yet. Alright, from there on, let's see, flaps 5, packs on, anti-ice auto, and MSA wise, let's have a very quick look what we got. 2,300 all around, so 3,000 is going to keep us safe. In case of any malfunction before 80 knots, we're going to reject the takeoff, and after 80 knots, we'll only stop for fire warning, engine failure, predictive wind shear, or if the airplane is unable or unsafe to fly. Fire call, stop by simultaneously close thrust levers and disengage auto thrust, apply max manual brake and verify operation of the audio auto brakes, manually raise speed brake lever and apply maximum reverse thrust, stop the aircraft, and when stopped, we're going to set the park and brake. Now the FO can continue. Okay, if you call stop, I know the brakes on, speed call, speed brakes up or speed brakes not up, and thrusters normal up, normal indications. I call 100 knots, 8 knots, 6 knots, and the runway distance remaining. Verify your actions, call in emissions. I call auto brake disarm, and select flap 30 when the brake has been set, and advise ATC of the reject. We then identify the failure, carry out controls as appropriate. If we decide to evacuate, we redo the evacuation checklist. Time permitting, we'll pull the CBR circuit breaker. If the call before V1 is keep going, there'll be no actions below 400 feet except to cancel your warnings, raise landing over the positive rate, 400 feet, verify heading, select and carry out memory items. At the MFRA, we're going to buck up, retract flaps and schedule, flaps not alight, select level change, MCT, automatics, and then we're going to carry out any checklist as appropriate. We can do an immediate return to Doha. We are certainly underweight, so we're below the max landing weight, and Doha is the best options we've got available in the area anyway. Alright, for taxi, we're parking in Gulf 5, which by the way is the real gate used by the flight the day before I recorded this, so even though you might be a little bit surprised that we're standing right in front of basically a cargo section, well, that is what they've been using indeed. Okay, so in Gulf 5, pushback most likely to the right hand side, maybe to the left hand side, and then taxi out somehow via Echo 3 on a Charlie. And then we're going to follow Charlie all the way for runway 34 right via either Alpha 1 or Alpha. Okay, sit Alsam to Echo departure is what we've got in the FMC, climb initially 4,000 feet, and that's really it. Any questions? No, very good. Okay, before takeoff, briefing complete, then let's have a quick look at the displays. Menu, can go for airports as well down here. And data, looking good. Actually, yeah, let's keep that on. Alright, cool. And with that, we can do our pre-flight checklist. And that's the pre-flight checklist complete. On here, let's just go for it as well. Traffic, airports, data, and terrain. Alright, cool. So with that, we are pretty much done up here. Let's go ahead and do our performance calculations. So condition is going to be dry. Let's just cross-check the weather once more. 340 at 19. Temperature is 26, 1015, looks good. The rest is okay as well. Optimum rating, optimum config, anti-ice. What's that? Off. Okay, calculate. Let's see what we're getting. Here we go. And that looks good to me. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Here we go, that's better. Calculate. We'll just do it once more. Here we go. Okay, send output. And takeoff data received. Accept. CG we'll do from here. 6.25 units of trim. We'll have to set that a little bit later. And looking at the thrust limit page, we're going to go for a climb 2D rate. The rest of it is checked. Alright. And that is looking generally good. Well, let's have a look at the outside. Looks like all the ground operations are done already, so let's go ahead and request our GSX pushback. Okay, cockpit ground. Go ahead. Can we pressurize the hydraulics? Yes, sir, we can pressurize the hydraulics. Alright, thank you very much. And the lady is working on it. Okay, so let's go ahead. We are running on the APU. External power units can be removed. V2 should be 154. Here we go. And the transponder alt on. Okay then, trimming 6.25 units. Here we go. Before start checklist. Passenger signs. Interesting, why don't we get any ICAS indications here? Certainly should. Well, we'll continue anyway. Passenger signs on MCP, V2 154, heading 336, altitude 4000. Takeoff speeds 138, 145, 154. CDU pre-flight completed, taxi and takeoff briefing completed, before start checklist complete. Okay, cool. So with that, we are pretty much ready to go. Let's see what the status is on the ground there. They are connecting. In case you're wondering, I've disabled the GSX zone, so sounds I do prefer to do that stuff myself, because I don't find the GSX way of working very realistic. Alright, cool. So, cockpit ground. Go ahead. So, please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment removed, and bypass pin is installed. Yes, that's all confirmed. Alright, so stand by for pushback clearance. What's it doing? What is it doing now? Flag parking, yes, we are at a parking, that's right. And we're in parking Golf 5. Oh boy. Good. Restart, Throttle. Thank you very much for that. Looks like for whatever reason... What is it doing? Bloody GSX. What on earth is it doing there? Well, that is probably going to be rather expensive then. I tell you what, let's do that way. Break off. And can we do pushback by any means? Anyhow? No? Can't? That is lovely. I even downloaded a profile for the 787. Well, let's see. Let's try that once more. GSX. Nope. Doesn't recognize us anymore. Lovely. Okay, well, in that case, I suppose we have no chance but to do our pushback like that with the slew mode, so... Oh, V1. Nice. I suppose we're just gonna do something like that. Very good job, GSX. Very good job. So am I going to cut this out of the video? No, probably not. Everyone can see what GSX is up to. And just to point it out, I updated GSX just prior to starting the recording of this video, and I also downloaded profiles for both the 787 and DOHA. Okay, so I don't care anymore. Let's start the engines. Okay, 787, so we can start both engines at the same time, which is quite appreciated. Unfortunately, it still doesn't simulate the load shedding at this point, which would be quite interesting to see, but hopefully that's going to come with a future, update. So, engines are running up, slowly but steadily. Cockpit to ground, go ahead. So I've got 2 good starts, clear disconnect, clear single right hand side, prepare the airplane for taxi and have a good day. Right, and that's 2 good engine starts. APU going off, flaps to 5. Recall. Engines. Alright. V4 taxi checklist. Actually, tell you what, we'll do flight control check first. It starts getting a little confusing. On the Airbus we do it after the after start checklist. On the Boeing you do it before, so let's go ahead. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and the rudder is going left and right and neutral. Let's just try the left side once more. Here we go, that's full left. Right, cool. B4 taxi checklist. Anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, flight controls, checked, ground equipment, clear, APU, off. B4 taxi checklist complete. So straight out, right hand turn, and then to the full length to the runway. Clear right side, clear left side, brake off. Let's get going. It's a bit of a pity still that the Safe Taxi feature in the working title 787 basically just is a top-down view onto the airport textures. That's why it looks a little bit strange over here. And that's why you get, for example, these dark textures over there where you've got dark asphalt in the front on the airport over there. I do hope they're eventually going to do something about that. Okay, clear left side, clear right side. Let's just slow down a little. Turn knots is good. And then we can turn over. And now comes the long line straight ahead, so for that I'm adding a little bit of thrust again. Okay, so let's just do the takeoff review. It's going to be left seat takeoff, runway 34 right, flaps 5, noise abatement procedure number 2. Our takeoff speeds are 138, 145, 154, and that's set with the PAX auto and anti-ice auto. Okay, in case of engine failure, we proceed on the runway heading, climbing 3000 with an MSA of 2300, and in case we follow the normal SID, it's going to be right turn out, initially climbing 4000 feet. It's going to be LNAV and VNAV for the takeoff, so we don't have to do any bugging manually there, making our life easy. Any questions? No? Very good. Let's just bring the checklist up over here. Interesting, this goes straight back to the pre-flight. Obviously they should be linked to one another. That's what we're looking for. So 30 knots, the airplane is doing that nicely. In idle thrust over here, just used a little bit of thrust to accelerate. So that's quite cool. The DOHA scenery also looks pretty good, even though frame rate is a little bit of a problem on my side, but that might also be due to some of the other add-ons that I'm using in the area. Even though since I have killed things like the DOHA city scenery, things are going a little bit better. Alright. B4 takeoff checklist. B4 takeoff checklist complete. an airplane. Stop braking, I'm gonna tell you too. Okay, lineup items. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Quick check before takeoff checklist is complete indeed. Okay, cool. Clear right side. Clear left side. So with that, we're ready to go. Let's put up a decent range on nav display. 5 is usually what I like. On the large displays you can take 10 as well. But on both the 737NG and the A330, the 5 in the middle, so 10 miles total, is usually my preferred range for the ND setting. Okay, are you ready? Stabilized. Timing. Set takeoff thrust. Thrust set. 80 knots. Checked. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. So let's see how the autopilot is performing. AP. Reaching acceleration altitude. That's a good rate of climb here, isn't it? That's a really good rate of climb. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked, flaps 1. Flaps up. Speed check, flaps up. We've got 2,000 to go. Vertical speed. Flaps up and alight. After takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete. That's about 1,000 to go. Alright, down here it is, DOHA. There's some really good add-ons available for this city as well. Just on my system at least, they are rather performance hungry. That's looking pretty cool, isn't it? I like it. I like it. Right, let's say our traffic control has relieved us of our climb restrictions, so let's go up to, I don't know, low 150 maybe? VNAV. And then we can use Alt Intervent to clear the 4000. Here we go. Climbing pretty well, I'd say. The 2,500 feet restriction over here, not a problem at all. 3,600 feet a minute, looking good. Speed restriction is obviously still active, so we are keeping that for the turn over at Rabbit. I always find it amazing when looking back to the airfield and just seeing how steep of a path we've flown for pretty much the entire climb right now. That's quite cool, isn't it? When you're looking outside in the descent, things always seem so, things always seem to be just going in a 3-degree path, but on the climb, if we just have a look at the flight path factor over here, or if we just look over here, we are doing about 8.5, 9 degrees or something. So that's quite cool, isn't it? Always find that very impressive to see at what angles those aircraft can climb these days. And look at that, even with the climb 2 in, we are still doing like almost 4,000 feet a minute. Okay, that 230 knot restriction is gone, accelerating 250. And now it's pitching back up, just to pitch back down once we're passing 10,000. Well, sometimes these things just happen. Obviously, some pilots might just decide to take control of that stuff manually then and go for a speed in the vent, but I tell you honestly, in the end, passengers don't notice all the pitching too much anyway. So, passing 10,000, the lights are going off. I'm gonna keep the seatbelts on just for now until we're a little bit higher. And then what else can we do? Not much really, so that's it. But let's just cancel that 250 knot restriction over there. So that we can start accelerating to our en-road climb speeds. Reaching the transition altitude in 13,000. Once we do that, we're going to set our altimeters to standard. Also going to match the heading bug. That's always a little bit of a pain here in the sim. That's so much nicer flying the Airbus, honestly. It really is. Okay, set standard. Standard cross-checked, passing 133 now. Checked. Then we can continue our climb as well. 210 is the next limiting altitude on our set. Probably going to cancel that in a few moments as well though. So here we go. So, now that I'm just thinking about it, I don't think in any video I've actually explained the meaning of the term cross-checked. So, many of you just say it when you do the procedure, like when we just set the altimeters. Pilot flying says set standard, the pilot monitoring looks at all 3 altimeters. And that basically is the meaning of cross-check. Looking at both instruments, or in case of the altimeter, even 3 instruments in your cockpit. So that's cross-checked and what it means. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Top of descent in about 140 miles, so really not that long. Well, tell you what, we're going to continue our climb to our cruising level now, 250. Alternate event in order to clear the restriction over Alzham over here, and that's it. Also, I'm going to get rid of the data indications here. En route with all the times over at, that's not really worth it, but on takeoff and landing or on departure and approach, I do like to have the data option selected because it gives us more than just the next altitude restrictions, but any altitude restriction. Also going to clear the timer over there. That's what I basically start when setting takeoff thrust in order to time for how long the engines have been at takeoff thrust. Now, once the air ground system in the airplane senses that we're in the air, the elapsed timer down here starts as well. So basically the difference you've got between the elapsed timer here and the manual timer we started up here, the difference between the two is the time of the takeoff roll. So let's go ahead and cancel that out. Thank you very much. Because now the elapsed timer is all we need. It was quite interesting when my former airline introduced the 737 MAX. Beforehand, they would... Or let me start at a different point. That airline has always relied on the pilots reporting the flight time to the airline. So, basically, the pilots would take the takeoff time as the moment where we pressed the elapsed timer switch. However, we obviously did that prior to the initiation of the takeoff roll. And that basically meant that we just, well, started the timer like 45 seconds prior to the time when we actually got airborne. Now, when the 737 MAX was introduced to the fleet, we couldn't start the elapsed timer manually anymore. It started automatically, like the one down here in the 787. So therefore, the flight times in the 737 MAX averaged out to be written as a minute less than the flight times in the 737 NG. And in some points in the flight planning and the management, they started wondering, like, is the MAX flying faster than the NG? Are those guys obeying the cost index that we are supposed to fly? Until eventually they just realized where the difference came from and how they came across that. Was one of those things where you were just like, well, okay, if they say so. But it was interesting to see how the systems of the airplane and the slightly different SOP that was used in the MAX was different to the NG. Sorry guys, just a small story that I came about when viewing the elapsed timer there in the displays. Overall, the displays of the 87 and the MAX are obviously quite similar, so maybe a couple more things about the displays, but before we do that, let's go vertical speed and limit our rate of climb over here. Like that. Right, and we're supposed to be in Mach already, on Mach 660. So, speed, vertical speed. Alright, and then we can just reduce our rate of climb towards 1000 feet a minute over here, like so. And here we go. Okay, so in terms of the displays of the 787, obviously you've got the ICAS that you can switch between the left and the right main screen. Now, at what time would you be using what display layout? Well, it's quite easy. Basically, the pilot flying is supposed to have the ICAS. Now, I read a couple of arguments under some of my previous videos as to why would the pilot flying get it when the pilot monitoring is the one who should be writing down all the numbers. Well, quite easy, because even though the pilot monitoring is monitoring instruments, the pilot flying is basically responsible for the engines. So, for that reason, in case anything happens, the pilot flying has the data right in front of him straight away and can react to it straight away. Let's say, for example, you've got a bird strike, you get an uncontained engine failure out of that, and then your engine starts coming apart. It's more important that the pilot flying sees it than that the pilot monitoring sees it, because the pilot flying is going to be the one who is going to initiate the entire action, and the pilot flying is the one who is in the final thought going to be manipulating the thrust levers in order to match his stuff. Alright, reaching cruising altitude, that's alt capturing, VNAV, and we've got VNAV path. 80 miles to run to the top of descent, so no time to lean back, but we will take a little bit of time here, just have another look at the outside and appreciate the looks of our 787. The 10 always looks so incredibly long, but the 9 really has like the perfect shape if you ask me. The 8 is very small, but the 9 is just lovely. Personally, the 9 is my favorite of all the 787 models available. So just look at that airplane. It's beautiful, isn't it? Though I do have to say that, personally, I'm rather happy I'm flying Airbus now, and not Boeing anymore. It's just, you know, that thing in the middle there. That's a little annoying, and I'm rather happy that I no longer have to deal with that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get out the Navigraph charts to start preparing for arrival into Dubai. A little bit of lagging always involved when opening up the Navigraph app, but that's fine. And here we are. Okay, so let's see. Dubai, weather. Have Natus available? No? Okay. Well, then we just gotta take the real latest. 310 at 11, 29 degrees, 1014. Okay, so 1014 is pre-selected. Okay, so it's gonna be 30 left for the arrival, like that one. And then finally we just gotta find a place where we're going to park eventually. And in terms of parking, let me show you what I usually do in order to make my life a little bit easier. So what I usually do in order to find a realistic parking spot is I'm simply going over to Flight Radar 24 and I'm opening the real world flights on that route. So let's have a quick look at that over here. So that's the latest real world flight on a route. And now when I'm just zooming in a little bit, well, first thing we can see over here is ATC took the plane over the field and gave them a left downwind, but that shall not concern us too much. But this is rather interesting, where the plane taxied, basically where they turned off their transponder. Now, in some cases it happens, like here, that you can see where they vacated the runway. You can see where they taxied, so basically we know they're going to park somewhere over here at that terminal. But let's just get into a little more detail. And sometimes what you can do is you go into the last airplane that flew it. In our case it was an A350. And now we just go to the return flight, and on the return flight they often turn the transponder on while they're still at the gate. And right here you got it. So that's the gate that we're gonna park at. And that is Charlie 62. And that is how you can find out real world parking information quite easily. Right, now back to our flight. And if we have a look at the airport chart down here, then parking over here. So that's going to be parking chart aprons B, C, E, and F. So like that, we don't have to play around with the different available charts, but we simply do it that way and get all the charts that we need. An easy trick there, which personally I really get to like. Alright, cool. So with that, we've got all the information that we need for our flight, and we can start with our approach setup. Looking at that, it looks like they flew the VTEP 3 Delta arrival on the way in. However, that really varies on day-to-day operations, so we are going to go ahead with a 3 Charlie arrival, taking us into a right and downwind onto runway 30 left. Alright, cool. So, that much about how I gain information for my flights in the sim. Makes it really easy, doesn't it? Personally, I'm really happy with that. Okay, so let's now go ahead and have a look into some of the stuff we've got in the FMC. Almost reaching top of descent already, so let's go ahead with our preparation. It's going to be a 250 below 100 restriction. And we're going to delete that speed transition over here. So, forecast page, let's... oh, we had something in here already, but let's just request the latest. Request send. And here it is. Load that up. Thank you. So, load on route data page. So, looks like they've just sent us the normal winds as well. Here we go. Okay, that's fair enough. Then let's go back to the descent forecast page. Transition level, I do believe it's fixed in Dubai. Yes, it is, 150. So let's enter that. 150 on the fixed page, OMDB. And we're going to go with a 25-mile ring for MSA awareness. And then we're also going to take a 10-mile ring just for our situation in regards to the runway. We also got some standard speeds here in Dubai that are worth having a look at on the approach, so we can find those here in the charts when we go on the briefing for the arrival. So let's just see speed restrictions. Here's what it is. Between 210 and 250 from CTA entry to downwind, 180 to 230 from downwind to base, 160 to 210 on base leg and closing heading for final, 160 or 190 10 miles, 160 4 miles. So those speeds we have to obey. Also interesting down here, the rapid exit taxiways that they want you to vacate onto. So we are going to land at 30 left, vacating to the left. Then we can see our distances down here. So runway occupancy time is really important here. And as you can see in the notes down there, ATC will assign a runway exit point upon first contact with the Dubai Tower. So contrary to, for example, most places in Germany, where the pilot chooses the point where he's going to vacate more or less himself, in Dubai, ATC is going to tell you. And, well, if you're unable to do it, obviously just tell ATC, but otherwise, you gotta obey those points. Okay, cool, so 10 miles, and then finally I'm gonna put a 4-mile ring in there as well, but just note this is around the airport reference point, not around the runway itself, so look at that, 4 miles, 720 feet, so I'll tell you what, we can delete that again. The 720 suggests that this is not going to be like the ideal, this is not going to be the 4-mile point, so we just have to read the DME on the way in. Alright, cool. Now let's have a look over our lags and the arrival on the VTAP 3 Charlie. So we've got VTAP 230 knots and below level 120, that's in here. Thereafter we proceed via logbook 230 knots below 11,000, Delta Bravo 529 above 8,000, that's in here as well. Padded 210 knots and above 70, Delta Bravo 530 below 70, Delta Bravo 531, Giorgio. VLR reader 508 at 185 knots, 507. And then we've got 506, 54, and Uldot, and that's what we have in here as well. That leads us onto the approach for 26, for 30 left, starting at Uldot, Setpo, and those are above 2,000 feet both, and then on towards Motors, which is mandatory at 2,000. That's what we have. Now we've got a 3-degree glide on the way down, which matches the chart as well. Alright, in case I missed approach, let's have a look at that as well. Climb direct Delta Bravo 707, that's what we have. On track 284 towards Agnot, hold at 3,000 feet. So, Delta Bravo 707, 284 towards Agnot, 3,000 feet. Okay, approaching the top of descent. So, at that point, ATC would eventually going to give us a descent clearance. So, let's just say we clear the level 150 at first. Like so. Okay, cool. So with that, that's all checked down here. Let's also put in an auto brake. I'm going to use level 3. Then for the fuel, 6.1 on arrival, 7.1 right now, so we're going to burn a ton. So 173.5 is going to be our landing weight. Like that, and it's going to be a flap 30 landing in here, like so. Okay, and with that, our setup down here is basically complete, so just gotta dial in the minimums. 260. Still find it rather difficult to actually catch the, oh boy, that's what I meant. Find it rather difficult here to find the correct spot, because now, you know, when you're using a mouse wheel, it's only moving a couple of feet for every time I'm turning the scroll wheel in full, so just gotta approximate, try to find what we are looking for. Come on, man. This is annoying. Here we go, 260 is selected. Alright, cool. So then we can do the descent briefing. Threats for the arrival, honestly, not a lot. So that's that. Also, we're starting our descent right now. Idle. Okay, so no threats for the arrival. The typical stuff that we're familiar with from Dubai anyway, so not worth mentioning. Okay, and then let's have a look at the FMC. Speed is in, forecast page is in, fixed rings, 10 miles and 25 miles. The arrival we already talked about, the same goes for the entire approach. So in case we have to go around, it's going to be Toga, go around, flap 15, set go around thrust, raise landing over the positive rate, 400 feet, verify heading select, or LNAV. In our case, it's going to be LNAV. And tuned radius for missed approach, however, there really isn't anything today, so we can disregard that as well. We're going to fly the entire sequence with LNAV and VNAV. We can make use of the autopilot, and our speed restriction is fine to go flaps, well, up really. Okay, and that is mostly that part. So for the landing itself, let's have another look. 6.1, 7.0, so 900 kilos to go. Its landing weight now 173.6. With that, flap 30, auto brakes 3 is what we're going to use, and that means we will be able to vacate the runway, most likely at kilo 9 or kilo 8, either of the two. Maybe kilo 6 if ATC approves it, Then we'll just continue on Kilo until we reach the taxiways over here. So might be like Zulu 6 Zulu. We'll have to see how they're gonna take us up here. So straight left, and then Charlie 62 is going to be our gate. That's basically what we plan to do today. Okay, so let's just put Charlie 62 as a reminder into the scratch pad. Obviously in real life we wouldn't occupy a scratch pad like that, but in the sim I found that to be the best reminder we've got available. Okay, cool. So all that good stuff is basically in. Oh, no, you stay on auto, my friend. Okay, cool. Then let's do a recall. Descent checklist. Recall checked, auto brakes 3, landing data. Vero 3144, minimums borrowed to 60, set left, set right. Approach briefing completed, descent checklist complete. Okay, so passengers, well, they're gonna stay in their seats for the entire flight, I don't care. Even though it's interesting, I don't know why we don't get any ICAS messages here, certainly with the seatbelts on. We should get one. Let's just try and see what happens if we do it like that. Nope, doesn't work. We get them on the other display. Should be on right now. Nope, nothing. Okay. So that's something for us to keep in mind later on with the speed brake. The speed brake armed doesn't show either. Okay, so be it. That is noted. We'll just take it in account for the later parts of our flight then. Okay, so that's pretty much all the stuff that we could do for now. So now it's continuing straight at, and we can slowly see Dubai coming into view over there, but we still got a little bit of time to fly, so why not just use that? A quick look like that on our outside. I really like it. It's a good looking livery, the Qatar livery. And the 787 is an even better looking airplane. Look at those reflections from the window there. A little bit overdone, as all the lights in Microsoft Flight Simulator are, but honestly, this is looking pretty amazing. Here we've got our lights working as well now. Do note those strobe lights up here, which are shining both to the front and to the side. They gotta shine at an exact angle of 120 degrees to the airplane, and that's what this little part shining to the side there is actually accomplishing. Quite cool, isn't it? Right, back to the inside. We've got about 1,000 to go, but let's continue all the way down via the star. Start at 11,000, set QNH 1024. And that's 1024, cross-checked, passing 15,700. Now, checked. Okay, we're already receiving the ident of the approach. So by all means, we can already do the approach checklist. Altimeters. QNH 1014. Approach checklist complete. And that's about as easy as it gets. So conditions to run the approach checklist vary a little bit by operator and by airline or by aircraft manufacturer. But the simple thing there was in the 737 when we've been cleared to an altitude, so when we are on QNH, and when the first check was completed, which was usually limited by the reception range of the ident of the ILS, so that's why I just looked at that so early. Then we could run the approach checklist. In the Airbus, we can run it once we are below 10,000 feet, and when clear to an altitude, so that the QNH is set. So that's the 2 points in the Airbus. On QNH and below 10,000, while in the 737 it was also on QNH, but first check completed. Alright, 230 knot restriction, overhead VTAP. The target speed has changed automatically already, but let's see if the speed is actually going to come back. Obviously that is rather complex VNAV stuff there, and I'm not 100% sure as to how complex the actual VNAV system of the working title 787 is, but look at that, it is pitching up, it is starting to reduce speed, so that looks rather promising to me. Let's see how well it is going to meet its restriction then. Speed is slowly coming back. Like 2 miles from the waypoint, 10 knots to go. Normally we say in level flight we lose about 10 knots per nautical mile of distance that we fly. Looks like the 787 is losing speed a little bit quicker there. We also needed a mile to lose those 10 knots, but we also descended a little bit with that. Okay, auto throttle is kicking in. I would say that was quite a good reduction. That was alright. Okay, so VTAP at 12,000 or below restriction. Low VOC has 11,000 or below, and it's leveled off. That's interesting. In the 737 at least, there were different forms of VNAV software available. I wouldn't be surprised if the same is the case for the larger Boeings. One of them, and that was the one that my former airline had installed, did exactly what the airplane is doing right now. It's just leveling off, and now it's eventually going to continue the descent. But if it does that, then it should draw a top-up descent in here as well, so that the pilot knows where the airplane is going to continue descending. The other VNAV version would just draw a constant vertical path, so a constant rate of descent between the two waypoints in order to cover the vertical distance. That is called a geometric path descent, and that is what, for example, the PMDG 737 has installed, and what larger Boeings like the 777, 747 and so on normally have installed by default. But airlines can choose from both systems, so you basically got the choice as an operator. Right, that's looking quite okay actually. Next up we can go down to 8,000. That's set. 8,000 checked. And thereafter the next is going to be 7,000 above, and then thereafter 7,000 below. So you can see the arrivals in Dubai are actually quite a specific path, both laterally and vertically, and they try to leave you as little room to bring the airplane into any other spot than where they want to have you by default. So like both the lateral profile, as anybody of you is aware, but also the vertical profile. And that is something that a lot of flight simmers are not aware, that a star does not only consist of lateral profile but also vertical profile. So you can fly on the lateral profile, but if you're too high or too low outside of the constraints of the arrival, then you're technically no longer flying the arrival. Of course, air traffic control can play around with that, and they can assign pretty much anything they want, so they can make you fly the lateral profile without the vertical. The opposite way around is a little bit more difficult, to be honest, so flying the vertical profile without the lateral can be a little nasty at times, let's call it like that. And for example, an Airbus just wouldn't let you do it. In the Airbus you cannot engage climb or descent modes if you're not in nav mode. On the 737, and I believe on any other Boeing, like the 787 as well, VNAV is always going to try and obey those restrictions coming from the flight plan, even if you're not flying on it. So in a Boeing you can do it, in an Airbus you can't. So descending now, and what's that, like a 1.5 or maybe 2 degree descent. Yeah, it looks about to be 2 degrees. That's quite amazing, isn't it? It's using a little bit of thrust. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. Like, I know the 747 does it. It's not flying in idle path descent, but the 747 is by default using a little bit of thrust. But I had no idea the 787 is doing it as well. I wonder if that's a bug or a feature. Probably a feature. Right, 10,000. Lights are on. Let's see that from the outside once more. So that's the world over there. Burj Khalifa over here, and the Burj Al Arab should be somewhere over there in the back. Okay, so 7,000 or above is our next restriction. And thereafter it's going to be 7,000 or below. And that's where we are going to do a little bit steeper descent in order to get down to a rather early ILS intercept. But for now, we are exactly within the confines of the arrival, which is where we are supposed to be anyway. So, next speed restriction 210, which means we need flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. I might have taken a little bit long in order to get the flaps out. The VNAV profile does take the drag of the flaps into account in Boeing aircraft. Therefore, when you extend them too late, you might not be able to recover the path. But looking at this, it actually seems to work pretty well. Okay then, level change. Let's go down to 4,000. There's our airport. Okay. So let's go idle thrust now. We want to get down. Let's see what kind of radar descent we can get. $1,500–1,600 maybe. That looks alright to me. That's pretty much what I would expect from an airplane like this. From modern days aircraft, you are no longer going to get those incredibly high rate of descents like, for example, a 747 Classic would do. The modern aircraft, much too aerodynamic for that. Okay, so keeping an eye out there on the other side. Where's our airport? There it is. Right, let's do that. Gives us a better overview of the head-up display for our landing. Flaps 5. Speed check. Flaps 5. Let's do 185 knots as per the next speed restriction already. Okay, something's not right down here. Look at how it automatically brings up the execute light. I had that one time already in the past, and shortly after that it froze up when I touched my FMC again. So for that reason, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to touch that FMC anymore. We'll just do everything heading select. I don't know what exactly it is that's constantly causing that execute light to come up, but as mentioned, last time I touched it, the entire thing froze up and crashed, so I'm not gonna touch it today. Just gonna continue with selected modes then. So heading select, flight level change, that's all we need. Right, let's go down to 3000, and that's going to be from where we are going to intercept the ILS. Look at that, 900 feet a minute. That feels like an A330. The A330 also descends at like 1,000 or so. Just that the A330 is doing it at 250 knots. Other than we are doing, only from the moment where we get the flaps out. Okay then, start a right-hand turn. It's too bad that I cannot sequence the flatland anymore now, but I don't want to risk it crashing the desktop, so I just don't care. Okay, heading 210 for the base lag. And then about like 2 miles or so from the center line, we're going to start our final turn. Okay, the right is clear. No traffic around here anywhere. That's probably never going to happen in the real Dubai, that there is no traffic around. Maybe during COVID. Okay then, heading 260, cleared ILS. Approach mode is armed. The glide slope is coming alive. I'll just help the plane a little bit here. Let's use a bit of speed brake. Then we can also descend towards 2,000 feet, which is the platform altitude. So that's like half speed brake there, but note that it is not very far beyond the arm detent. Localizer capture. Okay, runway heading 299 is set. Slowly catching down to the glide slope. Okay, we've passed the 10 dB point, so let's go ahead and configure further. Okay, gear down. Come on, airplane, just fly into that glide, please. Flaps 15. Might have to select the MCP down a little bit further. Let's do 1,100. And here we go. Glide slope capture. Go around altitude 3000 set. So they want 160. We're going to give them 164. That's fine. And we'll do that until we are at 4 dB. Let's say landing clearance is received already. However, even when delaying the flap or when delaying the speed reduction, we've still got to do the flaps. So that's flaps 20. Speed brake armed. We might as well just fly 160 exactly. And flaps 30. Landing checklist. Landing checklist complete. Alright, 40 ME. Let's reduce to our final approach speed, 149. And then we can go manual flight. Here we go. Okay, so going manual and straight away deviating from the ILS. Lovely. So the airplane was not really in trim when the autopilot disconnected. But that's fine. We are just going to catch it back. Come on, speed, just go up a little bit further. Looking for 149. It's interesting how the airplane seems to be like really pitchy around the VRF plus 5 range. Like you can see, I only increased the speed a couple of knots, but I needed several degrees of pitch change in order to correct for that. Now watch it, we're continuing on the 3-degree glide and reducing my speed again a little. Look at how much I need to pitch up all of a sudden. It's like only a couple of knots. Okay, continue. And we're done. Okay, spoilers, reverse green. Ah, that's Airbus. Speed brake ups, thrust reverse normal. Welcome to Boeing. 70 knots. Alright, 60 knots. We're going to take the first high speed. The one that's just coming in the front over there. And here we go, vacating to the left. Okay, now we gotta reduce our speed, 30 knots on the taxiway. Interesting, why did autothrust just come on and try to add some power? That was certainly not supposed to happen. Alright, here we go. Runway is vacated. So, transponder off, flaps up, speed brakes retracted. Auto brake off, flight director off. I'll also put the auto thrust off, just in case it decides to add some power again. Lights off, strobes off, APU on. And that's it. Right, that's the after landing procedure complete, and then we can continue towards our gate. I'm gonna get rid of the HUD now because I prefer to see a little bit better outside. In the real world, you just turn down the brightness of the HUD until you basically can see like everything right through it. In the sim, that's a little bit harder, so yeah. Shall we give GSX another try? See what it's gonna do? Parking, we sat on Charlie 62. And that's it, Charlie 62. Request follow me, no thanks. So we just continue like this and see what it's gonna look like. By the way, last time I flew to Dubai, I got quite a couple of questions of like, hey, which scenery are you using? That's looking so good. And it indeed looks very good. It's a freeware from flightsim.to that basically does all the ground texturing and still uses the buildings from the standard Asobo scenery. So the ground textures are basically custom, while the buildings belong to the default Asobo airport. And at the moment, I tend to say that's the best compromise that we can get for Dubai Airport. Looks pretty good in my opinion. Especially those ground textures, man. That guy who did the freeware did an awesome job with them. Okay, we continue straight on Kilo, and then we're going to take the second taxiway to the left, which is going to lead us into the direction of our gate. Also getting rid of that GSX thing up here again. Okay, so while we're still taxiing, let's just continue with a little bit of conclusion of the flight already. It was enjoyable. The 787-9 of Horizon Sim, with the first update that we are flying right now, really made the 787 come alive. Like, I like the flight model, I like how it's taking off and how it's landing, and the avionics, well, Working Title did a very good job with them. Obviously, we are talking the level of default avionics, but they brought it to a level where I tend to say that most flight simmers will be pretty happy with them the way they are right now. For most flight simmers, that's like the level of fidelity that you really need, and we gotta say that Asobo and Working Title did an awesome job. Now, Horizon Sim did an even more awesome job fixing some of the issues that the airplane still had, while at the same time bringing it to a very enjoyable state for a 787-9. Also, the 9 is probably the most favorite of the 787s, and it is most certainly also the one that was most missed in the simulator. Alright, now, with all of that said, let's have a look at the Kuro 787-8 in one of the next videos, which is going to come up over the course of the next couple of days. The Dash 8, also very good job, and Kuro is helping the Horizon guys as well, so overall some very nice mixture that we've gotten there. Okay, so our gate is coming up on the right hand side, so let's turn off those lights. And at that point, taking into account that this is freeware mixed with the default flight sim, both in terms of the scenery and in terms of the aircraft, we can just say that we've probably never lived in a better time for flight simming than we do right now. This is just completely awesome what we can get here, and honestly that Horizon Sim 787 with the systems of the Working Title really is in a shape where 5 years ago you could have sold this easily for 40 or 60 euros even as an add-on aircraft, and nowadays this is just, well, available for free for everyone. Really, really cool. Really cool. Alright, so there's 789 written on the docking system. Let's also get a little bit slower. Like that. 8 meters, 7 meters. A little fast still. Here we go, that's better. And here we go. Was a little bit fast in the end, but we've made it here. Okay, we don't have any APU avail indication there, so let's just go systems, and here it is. Okay, it's available. Perfect. Then APU is online, shutting down the engines. Cabin crew, all doors in park. And that's 20%. Shutdown checklist. Park and brake, set. Shutdown checklist complete. Okay, ground power is available as well, but we're going to keep the APU running. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much for flying along. I do absolutely hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, do let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button if you indeed really liked it, and then I'm looking forward to your input on that one. If you're up for more, if you want to see that flight with the 787-8 in a couple of days' time, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you really like what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link that you can find in the video description below. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much, everyone, and then I see you all again on the next one.